Hey guys, I just want to preface this video with saying I'm by no means a great player at this game. I'm only Plat 1. I've been playing, not too much recently, or not too much since the free-to-play launch, but I've had the game in early access for like a year now. But I just want to preface this with this. By no means I'm not a pro or anything like that. I just want to use this video to facilitate some discussion on Iva. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Iva is a ranged character, of course, and a character who I don't really see a lot of play in some of the higher brackets in some tournament streams that I've seen. Even pro or professional like ranged players like Averse and Schultz. I've very rarely ever see them play Iva in solo queue or scrims or anything like that unless someone requests them to in their chat. That's really the only time. So I just want to use this video to kind of open up some discussion about Iva and ways that she can work in the meta, and just kind of talk about Iva because I feel she's a little underappreciated. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the Battlerites. I don't really need to talk about the abilities. It should be assumed that you pretty much know what they all do by now. So let's kind of go through the list. First, we have Boom. Rocket X67 deals 4 bonus damage. I think that if you were doing some sort of rocket build, you would take this. This is definitely good because I believe this also applies to the splash damage as well on the rocket. So it makes direct hits 30 and then the splash damage 16. So I think that this can get a lot of value. It does let you, it does, help you in orb control. You could just do, I don't know if anytime this would ever work, but you could just right click the rocket or the orb twice if you had 2 charges on rocket to take it, or left click rocket. But it's a pretty noticeable DPS increase. But it has its own fair share of problems where you put a lot of reliance on your rocket, which kind of is a little contradictory to what Iva's core playstyle is all about, and I'll get into that more when I reach the end of the rocket rights. But decent. It's good if you're using rocket build, but rocket build in general I don't think is good, and I'll talk about that more later. Heavy rocket. On direct hits, Rocket X67 inflicts a 1.5 second fading snare. This is interesting. I think that this is a really bad Battlerite. I think that if it applied the snare on the AoE damage as well, I think it would be good and pickable, but I think only on the direct hits, I think it's a waste. Since you can only have two Battlerites per skill, if you are doing a rocket build, it's competing versus the bonus damage and then the extra ability charge. And if you're doing some sort of rocket focused build, then the ability charge is no brainer. Like, you need that. And then I don't think that the 1.5 second fading snare really outweighs the bonus damage on the rocket, considering Iva already has a lot of ways to kind of slow and CC kind of baked into her kit. I think this is just kind of overkill, not something that's really necessary at all. So I can't really ever see any time when this would be picked up. I think if you were to take this Battlerite and then maybe combine it with the bonus damage, I think that would be a good change. I'm not sure if that would be too strong, but it would be interesting. But right now I think this Battlerite is just really never worth picking. Then Stockpile. Rocket gets 1 ability charge, but the cooldown's increased by 1.5 seconds. Like I said, if you're doing rocket build, you pretty much have to pick this one up, and then the bonus damage pairs along really nicely with that. It gives you a lot of range, which is something that Iva definitely lacks. But the thing about going rocket build is you kind of are pigeonholing. No, maybe not necessarily pigeonholing, but you're kind of, making your playstyle more so focused around kind of spamming rockets from a long range, which is good. You can do a lot of damage that way, especially, in threes where, against like certain teams like, Paloma or, Pestilus, Blossom. You can do a lot of AoE damage, with this and then the bonus damage. But it's kind of contradictory to Iva, at least in my opinion, Iva's core playstyle, where you're a ranged character, but you really kind of want to get up in their face, up in your opponent's face, kind of dueling and taking efficient trades, using your shield most of the time. Iva, it's no secret that Iva's range is pretty lacking, and I think instead of trying to improve her range through adding stronger rockets, it's better to kind of double down on her strengths, getting close up and using her nice burst. You can do nice 32 damage burst with your just two left clicks really easily. Getting oil out on people, that's a 25% slow if you have the talent or the Battlerite, and it lasts for 4 seconds. It's crazy long. So I think that the rocket rights are interesting, but I feel just outclassed and don't really fit Iva's current playstyle, at least the way that she's designed at her core, kind of ignoring the rest of her rights. She's definitely designed in a way where the developers, when they made her, want you to kind of get in the opponent's face and play kind of close range melee. I mean, she has a shotgun, so that's evidence enough, based even thematically. Next one, Oil Blaster. Your next boomstick after using Jetpack inflicts oil. I think this Battlerite is kind of a must take. It's oil is just so good. It's the best thing about Iva. Even if you don't proc the burning oil with the rocket or flamethrower, just the oil slow itself lasts so long, and it's just so annoying to play against, especially if you're a melee. Like if you're playing, a rook, if you're playing as rook against Iva, and she has the right rights, it's actually just the most frustrating thing in the universe. She just cut you for days. But I think this one's definitely necessary. The cool thing about this talent is that, or Battlerite, is that there's a cool visual indicator that shows you how far the oil is applied, and it's basically just your auto attack cone, but it doesn't have the travel time that your bullets do. It's just kind of instant, so it's really easy to get 2-3 man kind of oil sprays on people, and like I said, even if you're not proccing the burn oil on everybody, even just getting that slow is just helping to control them and really kind of make life more difficult for them. So definitely a very strong Battlerite, and it's really the only reliable way to get oil on opponents. I mean, obviously, if you space over an enemy, you apply oil to them, but sometimes that can require you to space into a position that you may not want to be in. So I think this is really an easy way to kind of enhance Iva's core kind of oil playstyle. That kind of that kind of playstyle that promotes her putting oil on enemies and controlling them and getting in their face and proccing burn oil, stuff like that. So definitely good Battlerite. Next up is rocket boosters. Jetpack increases movement speed by 50% for 2.5 seconds. I don't think that this is 100% must take, but I think it is very, very good, and I actually do end up taking it pretty much all the time. It just really adds, a lot more reliability to your space. If you space into a very aggressive position and when you land, you're just, oh no, I don't want to be here anymore. It gives you the ability to gain some distance and reposition into a more favorable location. Let's say you're trying to use space aggressively to apply oil on an opponent. Maybe you space over them into the enemy team. So you put oil on who you're trying to, and then this gives you the added benefit of being able to reposition and get into a better location with your team, or more near the orb in the middle, while still doing what you're trying to do, apply oil through the space. So I'm going over someone. So very good. I don't think it's 100% required, but I think it's very good, and I pretty much take it all the time. Lastly, when it comes to space rights, we have U-turn. So this is an interesting one that I'm personally very conflicted with. U-turn is a right. Okay, so first what it does is after using Jetpack, you can reactivate it to fly back to your starting location. And the recast, it's pretty long. You have a long time to recast it. I think maybe it's 2 or 3 seconds, which is a pretty long time. And you'll go back to your location no matter how far away you are from it. I think it can be anywhere on the map. I haven't tested it, but I believe that is That is correct about the Battlerite. So the thing about U-turn is that when it's good, it's great. So when you're going up against melee, going for kiting, like Rook, stuff like that, it's really easy, especially if Rook doesn't have the right where if he misses rush, then it lowers the cooldown. If he doesn't have that right, then U-turn just totally destroys that character. So it really makes your kiting ability way greater, and at the cost of some predictability, and it does also let you use space more aggressively to kind of space in. I mean, get 2-3 man oil on people. Maybe proc it with a flamethrower or a rocket or something like that, and you can just kind of get out. So it does allow you to play more aggressively with your space. It comes at the cost of predictability. If your opponents notice you running this Battlerite, they're looking at their screen, they're always going to know where you're going to jump back to if you choose to. So with certain characters that can capitalize on that, either through maybe Jumong's trap or even just a Bako, X spacing onto where you're returning, because he knows you're going to go back there. Let's say you jump into the Bako, you can either stay in melee range and trade with the Bako, or you can jump back to your original location. Okay, if he has his jump up, he can just X space on there, meet you there, get the end cap, and then set you up for an easy combo. I think it's definitely a good right, but one that personally I don't really like taking most of the time. Maybe it's because I just don't have much practice with it, but it's something that I think is really feast or famine. When it works, it's great, but when it doesn't, it just feels like I would rather take rocket boosters most of the time. Because I don't think you ever really give up Oil Blaster. I think this talent is just Battlerite is too good. But in the U-turn and rocket booster, I think I would pretty much always take at least two of the space talents or Battlerites. But U-turn is an interesting one that I see the value in, but personally, I'm not too comfortable using, and I'll usually just end up taking Oil Blaster and Rocket Booster. So that's done with the space rights. So next we're going to go to the shield rights. So first one's Blast Shield. Zap knocks nearby enemies back and grants 30% fading haste that lasts 2 seconds. Personally, I love this Battlerite. I think this is one of the best ones that Iva has. It's really good for peeling yourself, really good for peeling your for your allies. You can use it to mess up the casts of characters. I've used Zap next to Jade channeling Snipe on the orb, and it's kind of thrown her off a little bit because it doesn't interrupt the cast, and it's made her life more difficult. Really good for peeling against melee, of course. It has a knockback. I'm not entirely sure how the 30% fading haste kind of interacts with the speed boost already on Zap, because if you read the tooltip, it has 30% move speed attached to Zap when you use it. So I'm not entirely sure on how the interaction between that works or how it stacks or exactly. But I think this Battlerite is very good. I pretty much will take it all the time, even if I'm not playing against like a melee heavy comp like Chi Melee or anything like that. I'll still take it just because it adds kind of another layer of utility to Iva's kit. If you did this would be one of the things that I could think about swapping out if I wanted to go towards a more rocket focused build or something more experimental. This is definitely something you can swap out easily and not really be losing much, but it does kind of add another layer on top of Iva's kit. So definitely very good Battlerite. Number 2 is Durable Shield. It's pretty straightforward. Zap absorbs 8 more damage on yourself and 16 more on allies. I didn't think that this right was good for a while, but I've actually recently fallen in love with this right. It really adds a lot to your trading potential as Iva, because Zap is an ability that it has huge benefits when used on allies, but I feel like in 99% of cases I end up using it on myself in order to trade favorably. So this makes a Zap a 36 damage shield as opposed to a 28 damage shield on yourself. So, that 8 extra damage doesn't seem like much, but it really is. It can be a huge game changer. Honestly, if you're going up against if you're trying to trade against Destiny, for example, if she gets this fully charged M2 on you and you have the shield on you, you're only taking 4 damage. If she has the Battlerite, the bonus damage Battlerite. And I mean, obviously, of course, you don't want to get hit by the M2, but if you misplay and you get hit by it, then you really are saving yourself a lot of damage, and it's very beneficial. And I mean, you get the double the bonus on allies as well. So if you have maybe you're playing with a Lucy, or you know, maybe you're playing threes and your melee just kind of misplays and gets caught with all their outs. You have this and then the knockback, knock enemies away from him, so he gets more space to run. 16 more damage shield, so that makes it what? That makes it 44 damage shield. That's huge. That's like a Lucy barrier, basically. And that's just ridiculous shielding that you can do. So definitely a very good Battlerite. Definitely not required. Not required at all. One would be probably the first thing I swapped out if I were trying to experiment with Battlerites or do something matchup specific. Definitely the first one I would swap out, but very, very nice increase to your trading capability. Really kind of helps you play aggressive. This one, Hyperspeed, makes it so when you have Zap on yourself, your left click has no cooldown and your reload duration is reduced by 50%. This Battlerite kind of turns you into a DPS god for like 2 seconds. And I played it with it for a lot for when I was kind of still experimenting with the rights for Iva. I don't think it's very good compared to her other rights, but I think it definitely can get a huge amount of value, especially against melee characters that have really big hitboxes like Thorn. If you have a Thorn kind of on you and he doesn't have Barbed Husk, he doesn't have space, and maybe you dodge his Entangling Roots or something like that, or he uses it on someone else. If you pop Zap on yourself and you just kind of unload on him, this is an easy 64, maybe even 78 burst damage just by left clicking, because his hitbox is so big. He has no mobility outside of no defensive abilities outside of his space and R. If he's burning them, you can really get huge burst damage on people with this Battlerite. So it definitely has a lot of value, but I honestly need to experiment with it more, because it definitely can be a game changer. But I feel like with Iva, a lot of times it's better off taking the defensive Battlerites, because you're one of the few heroes in the game that really don't have any form of self-healing. And you do have the shield to kind of make up for that, but with Iva, if you don't trade with your shield on, that's damage that you can't heal up through natural means. So, or through baked into your kit at least. You don't have like a Tempest Rush from Shifu, or you don't have a Battlerite that makes your your M2 heal like Bako does, or anything like that. You don't really have any built-in sustain per se, built-in healing, at least regeneration. Let's go with that. So it is something that I think is very good, but I really do need to get some more experimentation with this Battlerite before I make a final verdict on it. But definitely very good against characters with huge hitboxes. You can really capitalize on Iva's strong burst with the left clicks. Now we're going to move on to the E Battlerites, the Taser. So Conductor, Taser bounces towards an additional target. I've never really used this Battlerite, honestly, and I don't think I ever really want to. I don't really know why you would ever need this. I mean, I'm sure you can get value out of it, but it just feels really inconsistent, and it's based on the enemy's positioning rather than your own. And I feel like it's something that isn't reliable enough to pick as one of your Battlerites, whereas your Battlerites are supposed to supplement your core kit, and you're supposed to get a lot of value out of each one. I don't think this one provides enough consistent value against any of the other options that Iva has to really be worth choosing. But of course, it is something that I do need to experiment more with, but based on my limited experience with it, I do not think it's worth picking up right now. Next, we're going to have EMP. Taser dispels positive buffs from enemies in area. This is probably my favorite Battlerite for Iva, but definitely the most situational one. Normally I'll run a build like Rocket Boosters, Oil Blaster, Blast Shield, Durable Shield, and then Gunge. And if I wanted to take EMP right here, I would get rid of maybe Durable Shield first, generally, or Blast Shield, one of the two. Usually Durable Shield. And I would get this. This Battlerite is so strong in the right matchups against Faresh, against Lucy, against Thorn. The ability to dispel, their shields, Barbed Husk. You can dispel Barbed Husk with this ability. You do proc the Thorns, or the AoE hit, though. Important to note, when you EMP Barbed Husk, or when you use Taser and a Barbed Husk, you do proc the Thorn, the area damage, but it does immediately get rid of the Barbed Husk. I've seen plenty of Thorn players get totally caught off guard by this, be like, oh no, I didn't even realize this can happen. But definitely a lot of insane amount of value you can get out of this Battlerite, depending on the matchup. Has a lot of value against Freya as well. Less so because her shielding is, she doesn't really get huge shields unless you kind of are hitting into her counter. So a little bit harder to get consistent value against Freya, but definitely has a lot of potential value against her as well. But definitely really strong against Lucy, Varesh, Thorn. Not too sure who else it would be really strong against, but those three I would definitely take almost all the time against them. The last Taser talent is Igniting Spark. Taser deals 8 damage and inflicts burning oil when untriggered while the target is affected by oil. If this Battlerite worked with X2, the in-cap shot on Iva, I think it would be really good, because then your in-cap shot goes from 10 damage to 18 damage, and then you can do like a right-click, left-click into that. So 18 plus 26, that's already over 40 damage, and then the added left click on top of it. You can get some really nice burst combos just by yourself with this talent, but unfortunately the 8 damage does not apply to in-cap shot. It only applies to the Taser. And 8 damage is, it's not nothing, it's decent. And then being able to proc oil from far away is also good, but I feel like this is a Battlerite where I really wouldn't be able to get enough consistent value out of it to make it worth it, because I'm not, in my normal playstyle, I'm not using Taser to proc the burning oil, right? I guess if I had this one, I would kind of change around and try to incorporate it to proc burning oil from far away, but I don't know. Still need to experiment with it more. But I feel like if they made it work with an in-cap shot, I think I would actually like this Battlerite a lot more. But just right now in its current state, I feel like I'm not a huge fan of it, honestly. Definitely not to say it's not viable, but I tend to focus more on defensive Battlerites or utility with Iva when I play. So I think the added offense, because I feel like Iva does pretty decent damage already. I just need to be able to live to do that damage, right? So I wouldn't take this one right now, but if they buffed it to work with in-cap shot, then I think I would definitely take it. I would take it in a couple matchups where it's easy to hit in-cap shot. And maybe like, people with no counters or like low mobility, Lucy, a lot of healers, stuff like that. Alright, so now we have the only Tractor Beam Battlerite, Tractor Pulse. Tractor Beam stuns all enemies caught in the beam for 0.5 seconds when the effect ends, and cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds. I think this Battlerite is good, but I think there's just too many ways for characters to get out of it and not proc the stun. Because the problem with this Battlerite is that the stun only procs if you finish the full channel, not when you just kind of cancel the channel. That would be kind of OP, because then you could just R and then cancel immediately for a half-second stun. But I think there's just too many ways for characters to get out of the Tractor Beam. You really have to, and even in like, I would never take this in 2s, because there's only one other character or one other teammate that can capitalize on your Tractor Beam. In 3s, it definitely could be more value, because you have two allies that can capitalize on, being able to, suck the enemy in and stun them potentially. But it's too easy to get out of, basically any character that has any sort of move speed increase can just kind of walk to the side, or, if they have a dash or a leap, of course, they can just get out of it. Bako, can space out or E to the side. Croak has double jump. He also E out of it, E to the side, or through you. Shifu, immaterial, harpoon, or, javelin. Stuff like that. There's really just like a lot of ways to get out of it, so it's kind of hard to get the full value of this Battlerite Whereas, what I've been saying throughout the entire time of me talking is that you should be picking the Battlerites to give you the most consistent value, because they're, if you're only getting something that's very situational, it better be a situation that's going to happen a lot in that game, or else it's not going to be worth it. So Charger Pulse is good, but I don't think it's worth taking. It was really good in the old system of battle rights, the round by round battle rights, because you had to give up less to get it. There were only two other options. I don't even remember exactly which round tier it was on, but it was better in that system. And then Tractor Pulse is an ability that I myself don't really find using as Iva that often. I really will only use it if my space and my Q are on cooldown, and I really can't trade with the person I'm going up against. So I'll use this to kind of buy time maybe 2 seconds for my abilities to come off cooldown, so I can get out of there. But it has potential, but right now I don't really think it's worth taking. And then the alt Battlerite, all systems operational. Machine gun inflicts oil on all nearby enemies and launches a rocket when firing the last bullet. I think Iva's ultimate is it does a lot of damage. It's 140 over the whole channel, and it's pretty easy to hit people with the bullets. But her X abilities are so good. I don't really ever use the ultimate unless the round's already over, or I know I can get a full channel off on it. And this is the oil application on this only works on enemies actually near Iva, I believe. So I think it's just not worth it. I don't think Iva's ultimate is really that good anyway, and I don't think this really makes it that much better. So I can never really see a situation where this is worth taking. Now we go on to the perks. We first have Gunge. Oil further reduces movement speed by 10% and duration increases by 1.5 seconds. This one's core. I think you pretty much take this in almost every Iva build unless you're doing something kind of weird and experimental. Oil is just such a good part of Iva's kit and has so much synergy with... and this one has so much synergy because it makes all your oil applications that much stronger. Makes it 20 or 25% slow. I forget exactly. And it makes the duration 4 to 5 seconds, which is a huge duration in this game. 4 to 5 seconds is so long in this game. And it makes Melee's life a living hell. Honestly, it's terrible for Melee. For anybody, really, it's just awful. Awful to just be oiled and slowed for what feels like a year. But this one is definitely core. It just makes something that's art. It makes one of the strongest parts of your kit just astronomically stronger. And it just gives you that another element, or it kind of enhances your ability to control the game and control your enemies, and gives you more time to set up your burning oil as well. Burning oil is, it's basically a free 21 damage, I think. If you proc burning oil and they don't dodge any of the ticks. So just very powerful Battlerite. I would pick this up almost all the time. The last one we have is Inspiration. Increase your maximum energy by 25%, and energy is gained from abilities increased by 10%. This is something I used to play with a lot. I had swapped it out for Durable Shield in my kind of base loadout. It's something that I know Averse likes to play with, and he recommends in his build for Iva. I think that Inspiration is kind of a bad Battlerite. I think that with certain characters, it can be good. Like Bako, for instance, because since it gives you the increased max energy, you can, X space incap into ultimate, guaranteed by yourself, which is really good. Having, if you're a character that has Inspiration as one of your available Battlerites, then you can do a kind of a self combo like that. I think it has a lot of value, but really the second part of Inspiration is really bad. Energy gained from abilities is increased by 10%. That's and pretty much every scenario that's less than 1% energy gained. And I just feel like it's just not worth it. I mean, Iva is a character where you really do a lot of energy spam, a lot of X spam. So energy is good on Iva, but I just feel like she doesn't have an alt combo like Bako does with the incap into alt. And her alt's already really lackluster. The energy gain is nice, but I feel like this just isn't really worth it. I've kind of been rethinking whole Inspiration as a whole on all the characters that have it. I just feel like this doesn't do enough most of the time. I'd be better off picking one of the actual ability Battlerites. But I don't think it's bad. I think you can definitely play with it. I just have a different preference. So those are all of Iva's Battlerites. and this is the build that I tend to go with most of the time. Go Rocket Boosters, Oil Blaster, Blast Shield, Durable Shield, and Gunge. So you have the increased mobility on Rocket Boosters, you have the increased move speed. You could definitely really easily replace this with U-Turn, and really you wouldn't lose anything. You just kind of have to have a different playstyle. I think Oil Blaster is core. I think you have to keep that. I think Gunge is core. I think you pretty much have to keep that. And then the other three are definitely, you can swap out however you want, really. But if you're doing any sort of oil build, I think these two are non-negotiable. This is what I like to play with. The jetpack move speed really kind of helps me get out of sticky situations and lets me play more aggressive as well. Whereas U-Turn is a much more defense-oriented Battlerite, but Rocket Boosters is much more versatile. You can use it offensively or defensively, which is really nice. It adds a lot of flexibility to your space. Oil Blaster, like I've said, is core. Lets you apply your oil really reliably and gives you insane kiting potential and also insane offensive potential as well. Gunge is core. If you're doing anything with oil, you pretty much have to run this. It's like the best. It's like one of the best Battlerites in the game, I think, honestly. At least in my opinion. Definitely Iva's second best Battlerite to Oil Blaster. I think this is her best Battlerite. Blast Shield. This one's really good. The knockback is awesome. It works on the orb too in the middle. But easily swappable with another Battlerite if you are so inclined. And same thing with Durable Shield. It just increases your trading potential, but easily swappable for something else if you like. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and just hop into the playground real quick because I don't really see much gameplay of Iva for of high level streamers or in tournament play. So I kind of just want to go over my playstyle and really kind of facilitate a discussion, kind of see how other people like to play Iva. Because I think she's a character that has a lot of potential but really lacks representation. So a lot of people may not necessarily kind of know how to play her and what her kind of flowchart, like her standard game plan should be. So usually at the start of the round, we'll spawn. I'll go ahead and ZN. Usually at this point, let's say I'm playing, 2v2, playing against me like Jade Shifu or something like that. So if I'm playing, I'm going to try and go in the enemy's face. I'm going to mount in. I'm usually going to queue myself preemptively, get the shield, and then just trying to start trading aggressively. You want to use your Q. See, the dilemma I have with Zap is that it's an insanely good reactive ability because it dispels your allies and yourself. So you can use it on, say your Lucy gets incapped by Shifu. Oh bam, just use Q on them. They're good to go. They're not gonna get, they're not able to move again, or someone's panicked or someone's stunned. You can literally dispel everything. So its utility is insane. One of the best skills in the game, in my opinion. But I feel like when I'm playing Iva, the best scenario in most situations, I have to, at least in solo queue, I have to use it kind of selfishly and able to trade well with the enemies, considering I don't have any real self-healing. So I'll mount up here to about very center, right here, and then I'll queue myself and just start trying to trade, get in the enemy's face and try and trade aggressively. If I have durable shield Battlerite, if I have the durable shield Battlerite, I have a 36 damage shield on me for 2.5 seconds, which is a pretty long time in this game, and that really just nets me. Basically, if you have your shield on you, and you're trading with an enemy, just even left clicks or even some other abilities, you will win that trade pretty much all the time, unless you misplay or you don't hit your shots. So Q is like an automatic free trade. It can even burn multiple cooldowns if you're really applying that much pressure in their face. So I like to use Q aggressively on myself and use it to push forward. And I'm pretty much never going to space in aggressively to apply oil unless I know I have the upper hand. I try and be very conservative with my space, considering my Q is on such a long cooldown. One of my main defensive abilities, 12-second cooldown. That's so long in this game, and really your only defensive abilities are your spacing and your Q. So if I'm trading in the beginning of the game, right? If I use Q out here, and I space in aggressively to apply oil, okay, then by that time I'm over here in the enemy spawn, and maybe I have at least like four or 5 seconds left of my zap. There's 4 or 5 seconds where I'm just completely vulnerable. So, you know, if you have U-turn, you can go in, go out. You're totally fine. But, you know, me, I don't normally play with U-turn. So I tend to be very, very conservative with my space. And just try and use my Q to trade efficiently. And then I'll use my space to either get out when I'm trading poorly, or to chase an enemy when I know that they don't have very many outs. So let's say I'm fighting against a Jade here, Q myself, we trade a little bit, I'm winning the trade, Jade feels pressured, she spaces away from me. Maybe she's over there, or it's a 2v2, and she's away from her teammate. Then I'll space over here aggressively, try and hit her with the oil, and then maybe hopefully by this point I have 2 bars. I'm gonna start flamethrowing her, she has nothing to dodge it. So definitely, I feel like Iva is a character that's all about being as efficient as possible, because if you make mistakes on Iva, it's a lot harder to come back than it is on any other champion. Your space and your Q are extremely powerful defensive and offensive abilities, and your usage of them is really what separates the good Ivas from great Ivas. And making sure to hit your left clicks. I think that's the main thing. Once you get better at hitting your left clicks, I'm still awful at it, but once you get good at hitting left clicks consistently, then you're just, really with any character, then you're just that much better at them. But I think that Iva is a character that is criminally underexplored. She hasn't seen much play since the free-to-play launch and the Battlerite system overhaul, and I would really like to change that. I think she's just got such great abilities. Her left click is a little lackluster. It's still decent, considering you can do nice 32 damage bursts with it. Her right click is good. You can proc oil from afar and knocks people back. It's got a nice AoE on it. And all of her skills are just great. Her X1, flamethrower, one of the best X abilities in the game. And her X2, in-cap shot, it's a 3-second in-cap, guys. It's 3 seconds. That's crazy. You in-cap someone. You got huge range. You run up to them, you get a free right click, free left click. Well, the left click's not 100% free, but you can get it more often than not. And that's 10, 26, 36, and you got 16 on top of that. So that's 52 damage bursts right there. 1 bar of energy. Pretty easy to hit skill. And her regular E, Taser, is awesome as well. 1.2 second stun on a spell block. This is great against heroes like Croak. You know, maybe Jades that like to just hold left click. It's really, really good out as a chain CC as well. Say you have an Ashko on your team. Ashko lands a Q on here. Right before the stun is up, you taser them. You have the spell block on them. So then the person who's the enemy has a choice to make. Well, really, it's not a choice. If they hit an escape button, then they're stunned again, and they're probably dead by that point. Or they don't hit anything for about another, half second or so, and you're just buying that much more additional damage on them. So really good as a chain and follow up CC as well. And R, like I said, I really only use it for kind of the block and the shield in the front to buy time for my space, my Q to come up. And then Iva's ultimate is very lackluster. I'm not a huge fan. I can definitely see the value of it, but the bullets move really slow. And it's way too hard to actually get a lot of value out of it, considering every single character in the game is going to have a way to deal with it, whether it's a counter or a reflect or anything like that. And I just think the value of Shift 1 and Shift 2, or X1 and X2 are just so high. I'm just going to be using these most of the time. So I don't really know why I made this video. I kind of just wanted to make a video and talk about Iva because she's a lot of fun. And this isn't a guide. I want to go ahead and say it again. This is not a guide. I'm nowhere near skilled enough of a player to make a guide that I think people could actually use and learn from. But I just want to get more people talking about Iva because she's a cool character, and she deserves some more love. So thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Let me know your thoughts about her Battlerites and kind of general playstyle. I like to play Iva as a kind of a bruiser ranged, get up in people's faces, try and trade aggressively. When my shield's out, I'll get out, try and play mid, get orb control. Kind of hit and run tactics. So thank you so much for watching. Just let me know what you think, and have a wonderful day, guys.